Hey, what's up, everybody? Jesse here, out in my shop doing a bunch of stuff this afternoon. I wish I was out fishing, but the weather's not allowing that, unfortunately. But there is something that I came up with this summer that I used, and it's really helped me out on my rods and reels, being out all the time. One thing I've noticed is that if you're out fishing a lot in salt water, over time, the fishing line, especially braid, gets caked up with the salt. And it gets to where it doesn't want to spool off the spool, and it gets hard to cast. It's especially noticeable like with lighter trout fishing rods and stuff like that when you're trout fishing. And it's annoying because you want to be able to cast, but that line is just so crusty it doesn't want to come off. Now, rinsing everything down with the water hose when you get home, the rods and reels and everything, is definitely good, and I do that, but it doesn't get all of that salt out of the line. It only gets the very top layer and just kind of rinses it. So I wanted a way to basically be able to despool my line and clean it and then spool it right back on, and I come up with something. It was just something I threw together, and it works great, and it actually has a couple other added benefits to it as well. But just to show you what I got here. All right, y'all, I'm out here on my little crusty wood bench that I've had forever. Sorry, forgive that. I just haven't never replaced it. What I basically have is just a rod holder screwed to the end of it here, just to hold a rod or a couple. And I have this thing that I made. It's basically, yes, it is a bedpan from a hospital for those who have the keen eye. My wife's mother works at a hospital, so I get free stuff like this all the time. But I took a piece of threaded rod and had this little spool here that I designed and 3D printed. I wanted it open all the way around, that way water can circulate in there really good. And basically just take like a small power drill and hook to it, and I despoil these lines off of these rods right onto this, wash it really good in the clean water, and then I just spin it right back on the reels and it takes care of it. But just to show you real quick, so basically all I got to do, I already have the drill out here ready to go, is just drop this in and hook it to something, hold a little bit of tension on it, and start despooling. I'm just using my hand to just manually guide it onto the spool. All right, there we go. I just despooled that entire reel. Didn't even have to take the jig off. It's still attached. You can see the salt and stuff that it washed off in the water already. That's definitely some dirty line. The farther I got down, the worse it was caked up. As you see, it got everything off, including the backer. So at this point, what I would do is take it and give the spool a good rinse. As you see, there's enough weight in the tub to hold the drill, so you don't have to worry about it falling. The added benefit of doing this is if you have a reel to where you've used some of the line and there's not as much line on it as you would like for there to be right now, what you could do is basically change the backer. So while it's spooled on here, you can just take some backer, which I actually did on a couple of my other poles, and add a new backer in, and it would basically get that outside line, the braid, back out toward the edge of the spool where you want it to be. That way it casts a whole lot better. So it's something that would be very easy to do right now and still use the same line. But this reel was good, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and just crank it back on. And see, just that easy. The jig just lifted right out. So there you go, guys. I just washed all that line on that reel and didn't even have to take the jig or anything off. It's still tied right up. And like I said, if you needed to add some backer to bolster this out thicker, it would have been a very easy thing to do. This one is fine, so I just left it be. So this rod and reel are ready to go right now. The line will be washed clean and it will cast way better, especially throwing very light jigs and stuff. Now, one other thing that I wanted to do is to make another setup, basically copy this and have another one. So what I could do is despool off of the reel onto the first one here, and then I would have to cut it loose and then hook that onto the second one that I would have here, and then basically power all the line off of that one onto this one, which would give it a second wash, and then tie from that one back to the the reel and crank it back on. And basically what that has done at that point is effectively flipped the fishing line to where the line that's on the outside right now, that's worn out and color faded and all, would be down on the inside, and all that inside line that's never seen daylight would be on the outside. So it's basically doubling the life of your lines. That's one thing I want to do, is make another setup just like this for that purpose. So anyway, there you go. It's just something that I started doing that made a huge difference, especially in casting, spinning outfits and stuff like that. I'll even do my jigging poles with the bait casters as well sometimes. But I tell you, the ones that it really makes the biggest difference that I've seen on are these heavy duty poles that I use for drum out in the bay right there. The line on those will get so caked up with salt water that it literally, you have to pull it off the spinning reel to get it to come out. And it really doesn't cast well at all. About once a week, I'll set the whole thing up out there and despool those and spool them back on, and they're like brand new again, at least for about another week or so of fishing out there every day. So it's crazy how that salt builds up in your lines like that. You don't even realize it. Anyway, just a little tip, something I did, maybe to help you guys out. Some of you will probably laugh at it, but if you fish a lot in salt water, your lines will definitely get crusty. And this is really the only way I've found that's easy to remedy it real quickly. Now, I have heard that you can take the spools off and you could soak them in water. I've tried that before. It really didn't seem to do much. But this right here, it'll have that line casting like brand new again. So anyway, peace out. I'll see you on the next video.